Hello everyone, this is Hadrian, thanks for watching. After months of quiet preparation, Eternal Empire starts today. Finally. So usually when I do a video introducing a new series, I say something like, as always, this is just an introduction and you can skip to episode 1 whenever you're ready for gameplay. That's still true, and you can skip this introduction if you really want to, but if you end up watching this series regularly, the chances are overwhelming that you're going to come back to this video at some point because you'll end up wanting to know some of the information I'm about to go over. I can almost guarantee this is going to happen to you. So, for those of you who still don't care, there's the button. Now, let's talk about what's to come. New people, let me talk to you first. If you're new to my channel, or you've been around but you've never played a Total War game, or maybe you've just never watched one of my Total War series before, and you're sitting there trying to decide whether you want to watch this series, this series is going to hit the ground running. In fact, it's going to hit the ground as if dropped onto a treadmill that's already spinning at 100 miles per hour. Playing as a Roman faction in Total War Attila is not meant to be an empire building simulator like in Rome 2 Total War, or any other Total War game really. Playing as either Western or Eastern Rome in Attila is akin to a survival game, meaning the game will be actively trying to kill me starting on turn 1, so it's going to be crazy. We're going to play as Eastern Rome, which is the precursor, of course, to the real-world Byzantine Empire back in the day, and our objective will not only be to not die, but to reclaim the fallen West and restore the empire to its former heights. That means wiping out Christianity and restoring the Greco-Roman pagan gods. That means Jupiter and his compatriots. That means restoring true Roman military might and uniformity, and most importantly, it means kicking a whole lot of ass. After getting our asses kicked for the first few dozen episodes. Not kidding. I'm also, for the first time ever, going to be extensively modding the core game I'm playing to create a unique experience that you've literally never seen before. So that's my summary for the new people, whether it's to the channel or to a Total War series on my channel. And now for the technical details. This is going to be a long-term campaign on hard difficulty. When you think about how long-term my first Total War series was, my first YouTube series ever, which was Roman Ascension, then think about how long Crown of Charlemagne was by comparison. Here's a hint, it was about half as long, it was less than half as long. You realize that how long this is going to take comes down to really two things. Number one, at what point I consider the campaign actually won, and number two, how many battles I actually fight. In terms of the first, the long-term goal of this series is going to be reestablishing the Roman Empire. We can do that without taking the entire map, but let's be real, we're reestablishing the Roman Empire and trying to, not only bring it back to its heights, but make it greater than it ever was. So we're going to go for the entire map. This is something that I did in Roman Ascension, but did not do in Crown of Charlemagne. So we're likely to have a nice, epic summer series for that reason alone. But let's now talk about the second item, which is how I'm going to handle Total War's real-time battles. When I started the Crown of Charlemagne series, I talked about something I called Principal Battles Rules. Principal battles are the battles we're going to actually fight as opposed to auto-resolving. We'll be using a simplified version of the idea I talked about in Charlemagne for this series. No hard and fast rules this time. It felt really too rigid to try and think that way, honestly. But the principle of the thing is still there. If you've never seen a certain type of battle before, no matter how bad the odds are against us, which will happen in the beginning of the series, whether it's because of a new faction or a unit type or because you've never seen an ass kicking that bad, whatever, we'll generally fight the battle regardless of chances if there's something new about it. If the chances of winning a battle are anywhere close to 50-50, we'll generally fight the battle. If it's a particularly pivotal battle in any way, or if it's a battle to finish off a major faction, we'll generally fight the battle. Otherwise, we'll probably auto-resolve. It just saves considerable time and prevents the series from becoming repetitive, especially in the beginning, because believe me, we will just get sacked over and over and over again, and there'll be a point where it's like, okay, we've watched this battle already. And that happened in the Roman Ascension series as well, so you guys who have been on the channel for a while know that's what happens. So that's how the series is going to go. Last but definitely not least, I want to talk about the mods I'm going to use to make all of this happen. Here's a list of the mods and their authors. So I'm going to start with a mod that I made myself for this series. I'm calling it HADRIAN'S Building Effects, and it's actually based on easier building effects by Benji619. So I have to describe a little bit about Attila's core mechanics here. When you start out as either of the Roman factions, either the West or the East in Attila, the game is stacked against you, particularly if you are playing as the Western Roman Empire. You're not meant to survive. It's stacked really against you in 3 key ways, and here they are. Number 1, merciless onslaught from all sides, followed by the Huns. So basically the world hates you and is actively trying to kill you. This is fun. We like this. It's what makes Roman campaigns in Attila so engaging, especially when Attila comes in and really starts giving you a run for your money. Matter of fact, in this campaign, if he comes in at the wrong time, we could have a real problem on our hands. You kind of have to hope that the Huns will give you a break at the beginning before they come charge again, because they're powerful and they're unstoppable, especially once Attila's been born and especially once he's risen to power. So the second way that it's stacked against you is climate change. Basically, the planet actually hates you and is steadily getting less hospitable to agriculture at the same time that Attila's hordes are gaining in strength. This is intense, but it's what makes Attila uniquely engaging and fun, so we like that too. And the third way that the game is stacked against you is building effects. This is the one that's the least believable. In Total War Attila, the public order and sanitation penalties imposed by some of the higher tier buildings, especially the highest tier, make it very difficult to maintain that highest tier in all your cities. In vanilla Attila, it's actually not possible once climate change has set in to maintain level 4 cities in every region of every province. As a result of staggering food consumption and squalor penalties that usually double with each upgrade, in addition to some questionable public order penalties on various buildings, let me just give you an example. When you're able to upgrade a farm, public order drops. Let that sink in for a minute. In a period where food is scarce, better farms reduce public order. Yeah, I don't know either. As a consequence of all that, you have to pick and choose in vanilla Attila which cities receive the maximum upgrades, no matter how opulent your empire becomes, no matter how much territory it owns, making it possible to actually own the entire map and yet still be unable to fully upgrade all your buildings. It doesn't make sense. So my mod addresses this particular deck stacking. The public order penalties still double with each turn, but all of them have been reduced by about half. The penalties are still more than half of their original value, but they've been cut in half, more or less. In addition, sanitation penalties have also been reduced or removed for buildings that logically wouldn't actually affect a city's overall sanitation. For instance, internal facilities like blacksmiths that might be really dirty but wouldn't really have an outside effect beyond their walls. They don't have squalor penalties. Also, sensible public order bonuses have been added for trade buildings that you can easily imagine would contribute to the wealth and prosperity of a city. A trade city, just because those goods are readily available, you would think, okay, this is going to help public order. They're not big bonuses, but they're there. The result is an experience that plays almost identically to vanilla Attila, becoming increasingly challenging as the campaign wears on and as its cities grow, but that enables powerful empires to upgrade almost all of their buildings to top tier without a problem. In short, it's going to make Rome actually feel powerful again once we get to the point where we own a lot of territory. We won't be prevented from fully upgrading all of our cities. I've used Benji's easier building effects mod in the past. I've used it a lot, not in Let's Plays, but in my own playthroughs. But I've been frustrated with it campaign after campaign because it makes the game too easy. Food is barely a problem anymore, even with, maximum climate change. And squalor is not a problem at all. It's almost like Benji kind of, and I'm not trying to second guess him, but the way the mod plays out is it just kind of makes squalor irrelevant, like he didn't want to think about it. It just wasn't what the game was supposed to be about. So because I had Benji's mod file to work with, I built this mod from the ground up with the above objectives in mind. I didn't use any of his materials in the mod, but his mod did inspire me. So credit to Benji where credit is due. The next mod is the IMPERIUM PRAETORIA Unit Pack by MALISKRIEG. This is one of my favorite Attila mods just because it adds some incredible looking Roman military units that will create the feeling of a return to form for the Roman military. I've tweaked this one slightly as it has some buildings associated with the units and I wanted to bring it in line with my mod, but otherwise it's MALISKRIEG's exact work. The next one I'm going to use is Child Chance Tweaks by WESLOO, also Imperium Diplomatic Effects by WESLOO. Child Chance Tweaks really addresses one problem with the game that's really annoying, and that is that your kids, or just your family, whether they're married or not, have a real problem just having a lot of illegitimate kids. The ratios are a bit messed up. This kind of just slightly makes it better to where you're less likely to have illegitimate kids as long as you're married. You're more likely to have a legitimate dynastic line, which just makes the game more enjoyable and makes it feel a little bit less gamey as you're playing through, because you're looking at the family tree going, okay, that makes sense, that's cool, I'm on board with that. And then Imperium Diplomatic Effects, again, this is one of the ways that the game's kind of stacked against you, just in a more minor way. like in Total War Rome 2, when you have a large empire, the world basically hates you. Sometimes I want to completely do away with this effect, but for this series, we're just going to reduce it using WESLOO's mod. The purpose is just to make empires a little friendlier to you when you're a large empire, so that people aren't quite as freaked out or terrified or angry at you for having as much territory as you do. Makes it a little easier to have diplomatic relationships with other factions, which will increase the role-playing element and less of a feeling of just everybody wanting to kill me. Still, in the beginning, everyone will want to kill me, but later in the game, it'll have a helpful effect that I think will make things more enjoyable. And then the last three, no more Gatling arrow towers by Punished VENOM FROMAGE. VENOM, I guess, being his nickname, his main name being Punished FROMAGE. If you've watched my previous series in Attila, which is Crown of Charlemagne, you know that the arrow towers piss me off in Total War Attila. They are incredibly overpowered, and one shot will just start knocking down your units one by one. So this mod kind of reduces their damage and reduces their fire rate to kind of remove that as an annoyance and make the battles a bit more enjoyable for me. Again, it's just a rebalancing thing that I think helps. And then finally, just a few aesthetic mods. Natural Water mod by VHS. You guys saw this in Crown of Charlemagne. Actually, you didn't, because it didn't work in Crown of Charlemagne, but you'll see it here. It's just going to make the water a richer blue. I think I used this in Rome 2 as well, in Roman Ascension. So I'm not sure, but there's an equivalent mod for Attila that I definitely use, so we'll be using that. And then finally, the Olympian campaign camera by Olympian, which you saw in Crown of Charlemagne, just enables me to pull the camera back up much higher, which it just allows you to look down over the territory and the board, basically, if you will, if you look at this as a board game, much more effectively. It's a great mod, so I'm going to be using that. That is it, and I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to cover all the bases and explain what was going on. Feel free to ask questions as the series starts, or just start watching it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's definitely going to be a challenge for me from a frustration standpoint, because, I mean, the beginning of any series, whether you're recording it or not, but especially if you're trying to multitask and record at the same time you're playing, is in Total War Attila, where you're playing as Eastern Rome or Western Rome, is challenging, is frustrating, because you're just constantly getting ransacked on all sides, and it's nuts. So we're going to have to be very careful, try not to die, and enjoy the heck out of this campaign. So if you sat through this entire introduction, even though some of you I know are really engaged and actually wanted to do that, I want to thank you all the same. Just having heard all that will make it a lot easier for you to understand and appreciate what's going on from a plot perspective as well as from a technical perspective. Of course, I guess the people who are already watching the series, it doesn't really hurt if they didn't watch it, but I just think you're going to have a much richer experience for having seen this full introduction. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, as always. New episodes of this are going to air at 12 Eastern Daylight Time, which is GMT -4 for those of you not in the States. So it's going to continue in the same slot that my previous Total War series have occupied in the past, now that the Civ 5 tutorial is over. So again, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the first episode.